thank you for watching us tonight. All over town tonight, this is a long-awaited show that people want to meet the Republican candidates for a very important position in Walker County, and that's the Commissioner of Walker County. We have with us tonight Mike Peardon and Shannon Whitfield, both of them Republicans, and they've agreed to meet on a friendly basis, and this is not a debate. This is a meet and greet. They're going to ask each other questions. I've got some questions for them, and you can ask them some questions. We're going to put the phone numbers up on the screen here in a few minutes and let you decide. We need to tell you that they are the candidates that will appear on your May the 24th ballot, and come November the 8th, the winner of this race will face incumbent independent Commissioner Beebe Haskell, and we understand there's another independent that has not yet qualified but's working on it, and his name is Terry Lamb. I got that right. Perry Lamb. I always call him Terry Lamb. And let me introduce you to your candidates tonight, Mike Peardon in alphabetical order, and Shannon Whitfield. And thank you for coming.
Yes, appreciate you doing this.
And appreciate you doing
Thanks
this
for having
too.
us tonight.
In 1964, local...
So I'm going to turn it over to you all. First of all, I'd like for each one of you, and we did it in alphabetical order, for Mike to tell us about Mike and Shannon tell us about Shannon for you folks that don't know. And then we'll just start asking questions, and you can ask questions. Thank you for watching us.
Okay, I'm Mike Peardon. I've lived in the county 34 years, been self for 20 years, doing residential maintenance and business management, property management. I was compelled to run for this position by God, basically. It was something that was instilled inside of me, something that I was not in me before it was placed in me. So here I sit today. I hope that I do well for you today, answering your questions, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. Shannon Whitfield.
Okay. My name is Shannon Whitfield. I'm 46 years old. I've been married to my wife, Dana, now for 23 years. We have 3 children, Erica, Jordan, and Daniel. So Erica's almost 20, and Jordan's almost 16, and little Daniel just turned 5. I've grown up in our family business, Whitfield Oil Company, worked there my entire life. We cover a large distribution area for lubricants and related products in the North Georgia, North Alabama, and East Tennessee area. I decided to run for commissioner after telling people for many months that I wasn't going to run, that I didn't think that was something that was time for me to do, but felt like God was changing my heart to run, and after about 15 months of fighting that, I decided that I would run for commissioner, and I'd have to say it's been a lot of fun. The campaign process has been pretty enjoyable, and I've enjoyed getting to know more people and getting out into the county, and I've really enjoyed the process.
All right. Let's start it this way. Let's let Peardon ask Whitfield a question, and then Whitfield ask. We did in alphabetical order, and then we'll reverse it.
Okay.
Do it that way?
Sure.
So
You want me to ask Shannon a question?
That's correct. Or make a statement and rebut it, whatever.
Well, I wasn't prepared for that. I didn't know that that's what was going to do. But one of the questions, I'm just going to start right straight up, and Shannon and I have talked about this, and it's a concern that I've had. It's not slamming Shannon in any way, but I've asked you about the conflict of interest with your company owning oil, selling oil to the county, and how do you propose not to be in that position for our taxpayers?
Yeah, a little bit of background to the viewers. Our company, family company, Whitfield Oil Company, has sold Walker County government gasoline and fuel products for ever since I can ever remember, 20 plus years. Goes back into Buddy Chapman's administration, Roy Parrish's administration, and we've always given the county the lowest cost of goods because we wanted to provide that service to our county, and also we didn't want to see our competition literally across the street from us where the fuel tanks are. And so we've worked on the lowest possible margin. But there's been a shift in that currently with the county where they have started bidding that out every time. And so now currently we send a bid to the county per their request 2 times a week, and we give them the best price possible that we can. Even still for many months, January, February, and March, the county continued to buy from us because evidently, we don't know what the other companies were bidding, but evidently we had the lowest cost of goods and we were getting the bid. That all changed in April for some reason, and the county, for the whole month of April, only bought one small delivery that went to Mountain Cove Farms, and that was for 400 gallons. And so, and that's okay if they've got a better price.
How much did you usually give them?
They would normally buy a load a week is typically what their consumption is. So that's basically, I wanted to say that to say this. It is the discretion of the commissioner to make that decision whether or not the commissioner buys from whatever vendor. If our current commissioner has decided not to buy from us for whatever reason, that's okay. It's not affected our overall business. It's not a major impact on our business. So if I become the next commissioner for Walker County, that'd be my decision. And so I will follow whatever the state law is. And if the state law says that there's a conflict of interest with me selling anything of any company that I'm associated with, then that's what it is. That's the answer. You never know if the law's going to change. You never know what may happen. So you've got to follow whatever the current law is. And so it's not an evasive answer. It's not a roundabout answer. I know there was some on social media that got a little stirred up this week because they found out that I don't own any of Whitfield Oil Company. My father, Stanley, has owned Whitfield Oil Company from day one. He's had Whitfield Oil Company for 40 years, and I've worked in that business my entire adult life. And so if he continues in that business and I'm still associated or I'm a family member, if that's a conflict, it's a conflict. And so I'm not going to do anything, but I think where people start short is not just Whitfield Oil Company. It's any business, because I have relatives that have other businesses that potentially could be vendors. So I think a lot of people stop short and they say Whitfield Oil Company, where they need to be asking the question, conflict with any business. And so that's pretty much the short of it is, whatever the law is.
All right, now Shannon, you can ask him a question.
Kind of on the same thing, I guess the viewers want to know, since you're into the construction business and building business, what's your position on additional building projects or construction projects that you would do if you were the commissioner, or going before rezoning or asking for variances or things like that? What would be your position on that?
Are you talking about specifically in my business as my income, as to what I would do?
Well, I don't recall your business name.
Mm-hmm. Straight Line Construction.
Straight Line Construction. So Straight Line Construction, or you personally, what would be your position on any development or going before planning and zoning? Because ultimately, planning and zoning makes a recommendation to the commissioner. And so if you are the commissioner, then what would your position be on a variance request?
For myself? Are you asking for myself to do building in the county as a
Yes.
conflict of interest?
Yes.
I would decline business. My Straight Line Construction business would be declined. I would not do any further business as commissioner for Walker County in that position. My building would stop. It would cease until I was out of that position. So I would make that commitment, not to do that.
Are you saying close your business?
Close the business as far as building, yes. I mean, if that's what it comes to, if that's what folks, if that's a conflict, then yes, I would close the business. But I've already made commitments not to build, if I become commissioner, because I can see the concerns of the taxpayers in that area. I'm not here to make a profit off the county. I'm here to try to get the profit back in the taxpayers' hands and get it out of the government's hands the best I can. So yes, I would stop doing building. So you're saying that you would not purchase oil from your family, from Whitfield Oil, as commissioner, with that decision? And I know I asked, but that's basically where I was coming from off the hip. Would you stop and not sell oil to your family members as the commissioner? Can you make that
As
same
far,
commitment?
I don't know if I follow what you're saying.
Well, if you become commissioner, then you said, just a second ago that you would have, as commissioner, you have the right to buy from whoever you want to buy from. So if Shannon Whitfield is commissioner, say you're commissioner now, would you not buy from your family? Would you not buy oil from your family?
Well, I think it comes back again. I've not slowed down long enough in this campaign process to even look up what the statute or the laws are. And so if it is a conflict of interest, then it's a conflict of interest. And I guess the point I'm trying to make is I'm not going to do anything on any level that would be knowingly breaking the law or anything that the ethics would say is breaking the law. So I've not had time to research that. Nobody's provided me the code on that. And so if people are saying it's a conflict, then it's a conflict. So I wouldn't do it if it's a conflict.
All right. In a meeting I was in earlier today, this was a question that was asked 2 or 3 times, and they said, Judy, will you ask them this question? Okay. Does either one of you plan to close the tax office that's out in Fairview?
No, and that is a question that has circulated a lot, and I've had people contact me directly and ask that question. And I have no plans or intentions to closing the tax office or laying any of the employees off. There's a lot of distance in between where people have to drive from Lookout Mountain to even go to Rock Springs. And so having that second location, I think, is very valuable to our citizens. There's a lot of people that use that facility and seems to work out well, and the citizens want to keep that facility open. So I would fully support doing so.
Mike?
Same here. I have no plans of closing that office. I have no plans of closing any offices immediately. But we have to get in there and evaluate, but that would not be an issue there because of the Lookout Mountain District that would have to drive so far.
Well, Carolyn Walker said that actually accommodated more people than the other one does. That's what she said.
And I've heard that the volume there some months is greater at that location than it is at the Rock Springs location. So there's a lot of population on the north end of the county.
But Mike, you said to not close anything immediately.
Yeah, there's.
Does that mean that somewhere down the road you will?
Well, no, not to close. I probably should have worded that a little different. In the multi-member board solution, there may be some areas of the government that may not be needed at that time. So as it saves money for the county taxpayers, and we can get into that a little further. But that's where I was coming from at that point, was in that area.
All right, let's take this phone call.
Sure.
Caller, go ahead with your question.
Yeah, Judy, thanks for taking my call. There's been a lot of concern and interest in the north end of the county by the citizens up there about dilapidated buildings, houses that have burned down, not been torn down, dogs lived in abandoned housing. A lot of people in the north end feel like the commissioner has ignored the north end with the crime and the state. What would the candidates, do they have a plan or any thoughts on how they could help the Rossville north end of the county?
All right, let me let them answer, and I'll let you hang up. Okay, thank you.
Let me go first this time. Sure. Yes, there is a plan, and actually the commissioner has already started in that. Give credit where credit's due. At least it has started. But one of the issues that I discussed with the North Georgia Commission Board yesterday was, there's outside ideas here. If the county doesn't have money to fund these tearing down of these houses, we have contractors that would, and I was talking to one on the way up here about this idea, that would be willing to go in and tear these homes down, and then when these homes are sold, they could recoup their money at that time, which would not put a burden on our current budget. This could be done in Chattanooga. It was done through bidding. They had, and by the way, let's keep our business in Walker County. The construction owners, the people that would be doing these jobs, let's keep it here. So say we have 5 companies that are bidding on these demolition projects and are willing to take the brunt of the first initial amount of money to put it out and wait for it to be sold.
Are you talking about Walker County tearing them down?
Walker County.
I don't think they can go on personal property and do anything. That has to be.
Yeah, there has to be a process involved.
It has to be by the owner.
There's a process. I'm speaking, he asked what the plan would be, but it has to go through that process first. Once we get to that process, once we get there where we can move in, at that time, take bids from local contractors. So you got 5 local contractors.
Yeah.
Take the mean of that, take the average, and then let that go into a rotation for those contractors in fairity to the contractors in the county that all have a fair share and a fair shot at that.
Let's see what Shannon says.
It's an area that's become a big problem. The codes enforcement in Walker County, and it's not just the Rossville area, and I believe the caller does realize that. It's not just Rossville that has these issues. And when you look around our county, you see a lot of burned out, abandoned structures. He mentioned some with tarps on them. We've got structures where the windows are busted out. And we've got different animals, and they're not safe for the kids to get into. So we've got to have a new emphasis and a new focus on enforcing the existing codes that are currently on the books. And, that's a top-down decision. That Codes Enforcement Department is only going to do what they're instructed to do. So as commissioner, you would have my commitment that the Codes Enforcement folks would be mandated as one of the top things that we want to accomplish to start those processes of working through those type areas. We would probably set it up by zones and work on and focus on one zone at a time and do the paperwork, do the notification, do the follow-up on those. It's required by law. And then if the property owners do not make a move or refuse or ignore, then at that point the county would have to step in. Yes, there would be some costs associated with that, but it's affecting our property values. It's affecting the safety of our neighborhoods. We're going to have children getting hurt in these buildings, and so it is definitely something that I do have a plan and a focus that I will address.
All right, we're going to take the caller over here on 7712. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, ma'am. My questions are for Mr. Whitfield.
All right, go ahead.
I have heard from different people, I've not talked to him myself, but I want to know if he's planning on selling the landfill. And the second question is, I have heard that he's going to fire all the Walker County employees at the road department and contract everything out. And that's what I wanted to know.
Okay, we're going to let him answer the question.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for those questions. 2 very good questions, because there has been a lot of rumors around both of those. The landfill will be an area that's of high focus for me because the landfill is losing an average of over $500,000 per year and has so for the last 15 years. And so we've got to address that, because what they're having to currently do when they have those shortages in revenue and they have to cover those expenses, they're having to take that money out of the general fund and transfer funds over to the landfill to cover those costs. So we've got to get in there and figure out why the landfill is losing money and what it's going to take to fix those issues. When I talk to other county commissioners and other counties across the state, I ask them the question, is the landfill losing money in your county? And they says, no, our landfill makes a profit. And so it's something that we need to be able to go to those other county locations and say, show us what you're doing, tell us how you're doing this. But the last thing that I would want to have to do is get to the point where we would have to sell our landfill. That's one of the services that the county government provides, and that's something we want to continue with. So that would be an absolute last option. If we couldn't figure out how to make money, we would have to look at all options on the table, but that would be way down the list at the bottom. As far as the employees in any department, you mentioned the road department, but I'll go as far as saying any department in the county that's under the direct supervision of the commissioner. I have no intentions of firing any of those workers because we need them to do their jobs. Now, if there's workers that are not doing their job that is being paid to do a job that they're not, then we'd have to address those on an individual basis. But I don't have an army of people or friends that I'm going to be giving jobs to So there's not any risk in those people losing their job if they're doing the job that they've been hired to do. Now, we will have to look at the structure of the different departments and the leadership of those departments, but as far as the everyday hourly worker, they're in no fear. We need them. We need to keep our good people.
All right, we need to make note that Walker County's landfill is one of the few publicly owned landfills.
That's true. It
Others
is.
are owned by sold out to companies. You got a comment?
About the landfill? Well, I mean, it's common knowledge that the other counties' landfills are making money, and this is an issue that me and Shannon obviously debate. I feel that the county landfill is making money. I feel like the way that the money is being appropriated is not reflecting the county making money. My best knowledge, the money that comes out of the landfill goes into the general fund to start with, and then the money comes back as needed into that, into the landfill. So testimony from other counties, their landfill's making money. We're at $24 a ton. Two counties at $35 a ton. $10 a ton is not going to make that big a difference. So I think there's underlining factors that may not reflect in the audit or the consideration of the audit that would, and as commissioner, I would get to the bottom of that to see that that was addressed, that they would have budgeting for the landfill itself. As an enterprise fund, it's not required, and Walker County doesn't adopt it to be audited independently. So that's one area that I plan to shore up. I plan to go in and take the landfill and separate it where it's not money going into the general fund, money coming back from the general fund, going from here to there, pillar to post, and let's see if this thing is really making money. If I'm wrong, I stand corrected, but as the opinion of other county leaders, other county landfills, their landfills making money. I believe it's an area that breeds corruption in politics. Enterprise funds, and I believe enterprise funds need to be audited directly.
I'd like to make another comment about the landfill. When you look at the audit, and the audit's been made available online through social media, but many of you have copies of that and looked at this. But if you'll look on page 31 of the audit at the top, it shows interfund balances and activities of transferring funds from one account to the other. And it's very clear in there. The second to the bottom, it says, from the general fund to the landfill fund for operational expenditures. At the end of 2015, they had transferred in $276,950 from the general fund to the landfill for the entire year. And if you look on page 40 of the audit, it says under fund deficits, as of September 30th of 2015, the landfill had a deficit fund balance of $673,930. And so the deficit will be reduced through increased usage charges and general funds appropriations as needed. And then if you look at the financial report, as Mr. Peardon mentioned, there is a separate fund set up for that. There's a separate balance sheet and a separate income statement. Both of those show that the funds were transferred in from the general fund into the landfill fund. And when you go back and you look at the audits over the last 15 years, this has been happening every year for the last 15 years. And when you average that out, it's over $550,000 every single year as the average that they're having to take and supplement that landfill. Many people ask, well, why is this happening? Why is the landfill not making money? We are getting reports that typically the landfill is closed on Wednesday, but the commercial haulers are still coming in from out of town, out of state. They're able to come in on Wednesday because they have the combination to the gate. They're able to come in on an honor system and self-weigh themselves, self-dump, self-checkout, drop their document into a cubby slot, and they get billed for that. So don't know if all of those billings are getting done, but we have the honor system on Wednesdays. That landfill, if there's that much volume and much traffic, the landfill needs to be open 6 days a week. One of the things that we're going to do, we're going to change the locks day one. We need to have control of that landfill because it's a problem. And so when these out-of-town haulers are coming in and bringing waste in from Tennessee and Alabama. It was even in the paper when they tore down the Golden Corral Steakhouse in Fort Oglethorpe that all of that demolition waste went to the Walker County landfill. Well, the reason these haulers are bringing that waste in is because they're getting a bigger, better deal than they're getting from other landfills. And so they're getting a below market negotiated rate. And when they do that, it takes more people to run that landfill, takes more operation, takes more equipment, more fuel. And so we're, as private citizens or taxpayers, are having to supplement the landfill by property taxes. And so when they're transferring in hundreds of thousands of dollars a year into that landfill, property taxes are making up the difference of the discount that the commercial haulers are getting.
Let's park there a minute. It's not made clear as to the monies that come into the landfill that go into an account for the landfill. Those monies.
Hold on, callers.
Those monies at different times are put into the general fund at different times. So this is a non-transparent way of doing business. This audit, this 2015 audit, has stated other information. Our audit was conducted for the purpose of forming opinions on financial statements and collectively comprise Walker County. Now, on the next page, it says in the county's business type activities, expenditures exceed revenues by $1,212,801. Revenues were insufficient to recoup costs, largely due to the depreciation expenses, accrued post-closure costs, and operating losses. These are losses that are huge on that statement. But the point I'm trying to bring across, and I'm not clear, but I will be as a commissioner. I will get in there and dig out this situation. But all the monies, the thousands of dollars that each contractor gives the landfill monthly in our county, that money goes into an account, and that money is transferred from that account into the general fund. So then when you say, well, there's $256,000 put back into the landfill, where did it come from? I mean, you've got to account for the money that went into that fund first and then went into the general fund. So, you know, it's a non-transparent way of doing business.
All right.
Well, I think this landfill is a hot topic that a lot of citizens want to try to get to the bottom of. And when you look at the financial report for the landfill, and for those of you that have the audit, it's page 8 of the audit at the bottom. It shows the total revenue for the landfill in 2015 was $1,337,895. So round that off to $1,000,003. It shows total operational expenses $1,872,860. So the landfill had more expenses than it had revenue by $534,965 in just 1 year. And so as Mr. Peardon mentioned, you do have post-closure expense and you do have depreciation expenses that are in those expense totals there. So even if you back those out, the depreciation was $206,000, the post-closure was a little over $100,000 and change. Even when you back those out, our landfill in 2015 still lost $250,000 plus. And so this is the certified audit of the county. The county pays over $70,000 a year for this audit. This is the legal binding audit of the county. This audit is sent to the state, and the state looks at these, and you've got certified accountants that put their signature on these as being the facts. And so this is the best information that we have. Now keep in mind, any financial report is just a snapshot one day in time. But I'm very confident that looking and understanding these financial reports, because this is part of what I do on a daily basis in our own company, is look at financial reports and look at trends. And that's why I went back and I looked at these audits for 15 years. I wanted to see what the trends were. I wanted to see what the moving pieces were, what had changed to get us to this point where the landfill's losing money. Folks, it's been losing money for 15 years. So the trend is the current administration has just been ignoring the problem. And so they find it easier just to supplement and take our property tax money and supplement this landfill so the out-of-town haulers, commercial haulers, can come in and fill up our landfill. Our landfill has less than 2 years of space for dumping commercial and demolition waste. And so the county has also gone in an additional debt of $800,000 from a loan through the state of Georgia to dig another cell for the landfill. So we have a landfill that's losing over $500,000 a year, but we've borrowed another $800,000 against it to expand it because the out-of-town haulers are filling it up, and we're not going to have the space for the landfill for the citizens of Walker County. So this is a big problem, and this is a hot topic.
The 2015 audit is not reflected solely on itself. There's other documentation that goes along with that. And I ordered that documentation, and I reviewed that documentation. But for some reason, 3 months in January, February, March, when I ordered this documentation and recorded some errors, I sent somebody else into the office, got the same paperwork with the same date for the same year, and got different numbers. So, you know, the question for the taxpayers, do you think that we're really losing that money? If other counties around us are making huge profits, we've been losing for 15 years? I don't think so. But there again, it doesn't reflect as to where those monies go totally. And that's what has to be looked at and pinned down and cornered down.
All right, let's take these two calls.
Okay.
I've been holding on for a few minutes,
Sure.
okay? Okay, caller on 46, go ahead. No, the other caller. Caller, go ahead over on the other side.
This question is for both of you. If you are elected as commissioner, what are your plans with Mountain Cove Farm?
Okay, is it my turn?
I don't know.
I'll take this one. One of the
Thank
plans
you.
that I have for Mountain Cove Farms is we're going to put a community team together. There'll be a study advisory team for Mountain Cove Farms. I want that to be a cross-section of people from the county, take down the party lines, take down those barriers. We want to get the business people, the farmers, everybody that wants to be a part of this to come together on a study team to look at the options. And I feel like with Mountain Cove Farms, all options need to be on the table of what to do there. The big hurdle that we've got is there has been a lien put against the Mountain Cove Farms for $15.3 million on a bond that the current administration did back in September. And so we're not in a position currently to sell the farm, even if we had a buyer, because it's not worth $15 million. And so we're somewhat stuck with Mountain Cove Farms. But a couple of the issues that I want to address immediately, even before the study team starts dealing with the problem and looking at options, is we've got animals down there that the county has been maintaining and taking care of, I understand, for 4+ years. Mountain Cove Farm has horses, and we have donkeys there that are having to be taken care of by county employees. Now, it can be debated that, you know, they're providing some of the, you know, hay and stuff from the farm, but those animals, you know, we need to take good care of them, but we need to find good homes for those animals. Second, when you look at the general store there, when you go into the store, the whole left side of that wall is nothing but alcohol coolers. They're selling beer and wine and different alcohol beverages in that general store. If someone wants to partake in alcohol, that's their right. We live in America. We're in a free country. They should have the right to purchase if they're of legal age. The problem that I have with the alcohol is that the county is in the business of selling alcohol. And so these teenagers these days with digital printing and color copies, they can make a fake ID very, very easily. And so you take a teenage kid, high school kid, goes down there with his buddy, and they buy a 12-pack of beer, and they go up on the mountain, and they come off, and they're drunk, and they run over and kill somebody, then they're going to come back and sue Walker County government as an entirety. So we've already got enough lawsuits in this county that we're dealing with currently. We don't need another one. So I make the commitment to the citizens of this county, day one, the alcohol coolers will be locked. And we will look at the options if we can rent out that store to someone that wants to take that on. And if they want to get their alcohol license and go through the permitting process and they want to be a seller of alcohol, I have no issues with that, because then Walker County only becomes the taxing authority to get the tax revenue from that. They're not liable for the sale of that alcohol. So the animals and the alcohol have got to be addressed week number one.
my intentions for the Cove was always to protect the natural beauty, whether it be sold or whether it be maintained and used as a business. You know, I've lived here most all my life. I enjoy going to the Cove. I enjoy Pigeon Mountain, caving, different things on the mountain, hunting and different things. So, you know, it's a natural resource that we have, one of the few that is very rich in this natural resource. As it was stated, you know, it is in a bond of $15 million. Is there any way out of it? We won't know until we get in there and dig. It would be, you know, with our debt where it is, you know, at the mill rate that we would be paying for that, we could certainly use that money somewhere else if we could sell the property and maintain it through planning and zoning. But my whole intentions behind that are to protect, and I think you'll see that on my website where I say protect, and a lot of people get that mixed up, and I didn't convey that well, and I'm sorry. But at any rate, protect the beauty and the natural beauty of it. There's 7 cabins, I believe, there that $200 a night. 7 beds in the cabins. There's one house at $350 a night. Of course, the restaurant.
What would y'all do about the weddings and the venues?
Well, there's 33 to 39 weddings on tap right now for the Cove at $2,500 to $3,500 per wedding, and that's the difference in the prices during the time of the season that it is. So, you know, that's already scheduled, and we do have the fair. So we do need to look at it close. I've done an evaluation of it. It has its weaknesses. It has its strong points. Alcohol would definitely go from the county selling any alcohol. I agree with that. But as far as the horses were placed there under protection for different members of the county and maybe out of the county that was not taking care of them. So it's kind of been a refuge. And
they were taken from the animal shelters, I understand.
Animal shelter. Yeah, they wouldn't have been taken care of. So personally, I don't see a great debt with the horses. I like the way they paint the canvas out there. I don't have an issue with the horses. I'd like to see them stay.
But I understand it can't be so.
What couldn't be? Yeah,
the Cove.
The Cove. Well, you'd have to be able to satisfy.
Economic development.
Well, it is, and the commissioner is one voting member of that. But the problem that we've got with the Cove is in 2014, the audit showed that Mountain Cove Farms lost in operational expenses over $925,000. So even with the rental of the cabins, the weddings, the fair, all the activity down there in 2014 only brought in gross sales of a little over $361,000, but they had almost $1.3 million in expenses. Now, I know a lot of that was the restaurant, and so I don't know the exact date, but in 2015, they did close the restaurant at some point. That did help the losses there some, because the 2015 audit shows we lost just a little under $678,000. I had a lady come to one of my events, and she told me, a real nice senior lady, she said, "You can't sell that Cove." And I asked her the question, and I'll ask the audience this tonight. Would you be willing to have your taxes raised by 2 mills to keep it, and to keep it like it is? And she said, "You better not raise my taxes." And I said, "Well, let's go and raise it 1 mill. That brings in about $1 million. We could have a lot of fun down there at Mountain Cove Farms if we had $1 million a year revenue for the farm." She said, "You better not raise my taxes at all." And I said, "Then how are we going to keep Mountain Cove Farms as it is today? We've got to figure out a way to preserve it." I do believe that area needs to be preserved.
I think the state of Georgia owns part of it now.
They own some adjoining property.
1,600 acres.
And so it needs to be preserved. We need to have a plan, and that's why I want to bring community leaders together that will be volunteers to come in and study what to do, because it affects this entire community. But we've got to stop the bleeding of the losses, because if these losses keep going, you will have to see another property tax increase to offset the losses of the landfill, to offset the losses of the Cove. And so it comes down to how much more money is everyone willing to be taxed to have these things? I mean, the Cove, I look at it as a luxury, somewhat of a toy. It's beautiful, it's nice, it's a great place to visit. But folks, our county's broke. We have a tremendous amount of debt. They're having a hard time covering operational expenses, and things like this are dragging us down. And I don't want to see the Cove hurt in any way, but we've got to address the financial losses that it's creating for us.
All right, Mike's got one comment. We got another call up here. Go ahead.
There again, we have to look at as a taxpayer, you've got to ask the question, why are we not auditing the enterprise funds in our county? The Mountain Cove Farms is an enterprise fund, just like the landfill, and it breeds room for corruption. I'm not saying corruption's there, but that's a question for you to ask your county leaders. Now, some of the management down there was not up to par, but you've just got to ask yourself where that money's going. It's got to be left to question, because there are not any firm audits placed directly on general funds. As Commissioner of Walker County, I will place an audit on that, on the general fund for the Mountain Cove Farms, to see where the money directly is going, because Mountain Cove Farms is another area just similar to the landfill, where monies come in to the account and are transferred over into the general fund. So we got a little fumbling going on here, back and forth, non-transparency. I'll get to the bottom of it and demand the audits be made.
All right, let's take this caller. Caller, your question.
I want to know with y'all's plans on Mountain Cove Farms. It seems to me as Mountain Cove Farms is a private piece of property now. What's your plans to make it more of a public use area? I mean, the county does own it, but can't use it unless you rent it or something else. There's no area that's public use down there. Does either one of you have plans to make any of it public use at any time?
That's something that I think this study team would need to take into consideration. I think that's a solid point that you have, and if the county's going to maintain ownership and maintain the operation of that, I think that's something that very much needs to be considered and looked at. I think that's a solid point.
There's no, there's already some activities going on that are public down there. I've done some looking into it, and there's days that they have down there that they allow folks to come in and hunt, and they special groups like people that can't, they're kind of handicapped, and so they have days during the hunting season that some of the management has extended a hand to the community. It's always a cost. The cost always has to be paid in order to give back to the community. And Walker County's in financial bad shape, but they are extending that hand even now already in some areas. But as a county-owned property, I mean, I enjoy hunting and fishing and things like that. So I don't see why we couldn't use those facilities during that time, as long as we put a red zone up around the housing areas for shooters and things of that nature.
All right, we got another caller here. Caller, your question is for who? Are you there? Hello, are you there? Caller, are you there? Hello? Hello? Last call. You said the county's in bad shape. How bad?
For me?
Yeah, both of you don't answer at the same time.
I thought it was your turn. It doesn't matter to me.
It probably is my turn. Okay. Well, I mean, I've looked at the paperwork. I've took other things in consideration. I think our current commissioner's figures are different than mine, and I think Shannon's are different than mine. Based on opinionative, I can make my opinion as well as anybody, based on the knowledge I have. I mean, I haven't. I stand corrected if they're wrong. But the problem we have with coming up with any solution with our budget and the money being spent in our county is some of this paperwork is just kind of tricky. It's not only tricky; it's been misleading as times as it was presented to me. As I sent another person in to get a different copy, and I can show you those. But where I see, 50 million, 100,000 is where I come up with what I have now. As far as the debt, if you're just solely talking about debt.
Now you said it's in bad shape. I said, how bad?
He's saying 50 million, 100,000. I go back to the audit because the audit is the document that we have, and so we have to base our knowledge from that starting point. And so when you look at the September 30th, 2015 audit, and you look on page 1, which shows the consolidated balance sheet of the county, the total liabilities, there's one line item there that shows the total liabilities at the end of September to be $53,234,442. Now, part of the problem that we have in our county government right now is there's no quarterly financial reports given. There's no monthly reports given. That's going to change if I'm your commissioner. You will see posted online quarterly financial statements of what the current position is of the county on a quarterly basis. But what you've got to look at, since that was September 2015, we should have seen a financial report March 31st, and we should have, December 31st to start with of 2015. We should have seen another report March 31st of 2016. So we should have already seen 2 reports. But if you take that $53 million as your baseline number and you start trying to build what the current liabilities are, you've got to look at what they have published that they have paid off. Ms. Haskell made a post on her Facebook page, and it was also in the Chattanooga paper, that on December the 30th of 2015, that they paid off $10 million to the Rosemar Management Group out of New York City for the TAN that the county owed for borrowing the $10 million. Also, in January of 2016, they paid back $4.285 million of the first payment on the 2013 SPLOST. And so when you add those together, the county, since this last audit, has paid back $14,285,000 in debt that has been made known publicly. Now, I say that word publicly because there may be some other bond payments or note or loan payments that has not been made public. So I would challenge this administration to give us a financial report and show us what those numbers are as of March 30th. And so then you've got to also go and add in what debt they have incurred since September. So we talked about what they've paid off. Now we've got to talk about what they've added. The 20-year bond that they did for $15.3 million was not in the 2015 audit. Even though that bond deal was done in September and should have been booked in the September audit, and there's mention of it in the footnotes, but that $15.3 million was not added in. And when you look at that bond over 15 years, there's going to be $10,168,000 in interest. So when you average that out, you're looking at an average of $500,000 a year in interest. So I think when you look at the total liabilities of the county, you've got to take the bond plus the interest. Also, on the landfill expansion through the EPD, there was an $800,000 line, and they have drawn down, as of the September financial statement, about $140-something thousand. And so at some point, they've committed to that $800,000 loan. So you've got another $656,000 that's going to be owed to the EPD for a total of $800,000. Mike Peardon and I both was at a meeting in Chickamauga where all 3 of us got to speak in front of some veterans. And one of the veterans, I asked Ms. Haskell, where are we on the SPLOST account? Have you put the money back into the SPLOST account? And she began to explain to all of us that the SPLOST was okay, but she had to take the $9.1 million of the road money and spend it on the industrial part, but we were going to thank her one day for it because it was the right thing to do. When you look at the audits and you read the state code, it says that you can't misappropriate those funds. And so she made a public statement in front of probably about 40 or 50 of us that says that she took $9.1 million of road paving money and spent it on the industrial part. So that should be a liability that's due back to the SPLOST account. And again, you look at the audits, she's even signed a letter in August of 2015 stating that money had to be paid back. Also, you've got the unpaid EPD fines of $76,000 that's been reported in the paper on Rock Creek that needs to be paid to the state. And then you've also got this pending judgment from Erlanger that's in the footnotes of the audit. It mentions it, but it's not made it to the balance sheet. When you look in the media and you look back in March, Catoosa County went ahead and booked $8.5 million of that on their balance sheet because they're trying to stay in compliance with state law because they realize that they have that liability exposure. And so Walker County's not done so. The recent court ruling by the federal court says the liability is $36 million. So even if they get the credit to get it down to $8.5 million, there's not enough credit. The county's still going to owe $10 million. The credit's going to get washed. So when you look at all of that I've just listed and totaled that up, That's an additional liability exposure that I see of $45,300,705. And so when you take the September 2015 audit, you subtract out the payment that they made, and you add in the new debt, I'm coming up with over $84 million that this county is in debt.
So your figure's $84 million.
I'm $84,250,147 to be exact.
$85 million. What's yours?
Say $84 million to round it
Well,
down.
I got to say something. You know, Shannon, when you first started your campaigning, you was at $55 million. And it grew from that. And now you're at 80 what? $84 million?
$84,250,147.
I mean, but when we've attended these meetings together, and you started your campaign at $55 million in debt. You've went to $60 million. I've heard you go to $65 million. I haven't heard this last report, but in some of those statements, you said tar and feather me if I'm wrong. So, you know, it's non-transparency. It's a struggle for you. It's a struggle for me to figure that out, and we're going to have to be in there to see for sure.
So how much you say it is?
$50,100,000.
Well, I got a question for both of you.
Okay.
If that's a company that you're all going to walk into and it's that much in debt, tell me how you're going to get it out of debt.
Well, we got to start first in the survivor mode, and this is where it's going to take a candidate that knows how to come from a survivor situation. I've survived this county in all of its negativity, and I have prospered in this county through all of its negative economy, through all of its situations that we're talking about here today. I've based myself in this county doing that. I've actually built a tax base in this county for this county, and what I've done, yes, it's helped me, but yes, it's helped Walker County. Anytime I take a home and fix it, I've increased the tax base in this county, this county.
But the question is, this is a company. Let's just say it's my company, and I'm trying to sell it to you guys. I say, okay, Shannon, UCTV's in debt $84 million, and Mike Peardon, I'm going to say it's in debt $55 million. Why would you want to buy my company? Why would you want it?
Well, and I'm glad you used the business analysis, because that's what's got to be done. And when you've got stockholders of a business and they go in and find out that their company is this upside down, the first thing they're going to do is come in and ask for the resignation and or fire the CEO of the company. And so
I'm gone, then.
the sole commissioner is the CEO of Walker County. And so that
would be one or the other of you if you're elected.
And so that's where the citizens are going to have the opportunity to make that decision. The citizens of Walker County are basically the board members of Walker County is one way to look at it, and the commissioner is the CEO. And so you got to come in and start from the top and go down. And so my plan is that I've already been working to assemble a financial transition team. And that team will be made up of retired bankers and business people that have been successful. And that's the key criteria. They have to be successful, because this is a big problem, and we're going to have to get in there and move and act fast. So we need a team of people that's willing to come in on a volunteer basis, that will come in with me day one and start looking into ways that we can save money. We need to validate these numbers. We need to get with the accounting department, work with them, work with the department heads, and start formulating a meaningful, workable budget. And there's probably going to be some pain in that. But there's also some areas that are currently being underfunded. We've got the situation with our library system, where we were asking the commissioner back in July of 2015 for $20,000 more to all of that to go to Rossville, to get Rossville open to 30 hours a week. We were first told, yes, we're going to get the money, and then 4 days later we get an email from the accounting department saying, we don't have the money, we're not going to be able to send it to you, we're having to rescind that commitment. And so our Rossville library got down to 18 hours a week. If it hadn't been for a private donor stepping up and making a financial commitment to get it back up to 30 hours, our Rossville library would still be at 30 hours. So even though we've got to go in here and we've got to make some cuts, if we can just fix the financial losses at our landfill and stop the financial losses at Mountain Cove Farms, we can save over $1.5 million. Take and reprioritize that money where we've been having to cover those losses, and start trying to build an emergency fund. That's one of the things this county does not have. We have no money in reserve. And so if we have an unexpected expense or a catastrophic event or a tornado or something, we got to have an emergency. We got to have a rainy day fund. The county does not have that. My plan is to get $500,000 into a separate account where everyone can see that money, so they can see how much is in that separate line item on the balance sheet, and get that reserve built up as quick as possible. We're going to have a budget that's posted that's going to have to be followed by all the department heads. We're going to have budget hearing meetings, and we're going to do them different the way the current administration does them. Currently, the administration says we're going to have a budget hearing because it's required by law once a year, and we're going to follow that process, and you're only supposed to come and listen. We're going to have budget hearings. If they take all day, they take all day, where you can come and ask questions, you can interact. The people that's on this advisory team will be there. Everyone publicly will know who these people are, and you'll be able to also ask them questions about their recommendations, and that will be their role, is to make recommendations to me about what they see so we can move fast. And so my plan is that within the first 90 days, we will start holding these budget town hall style meetings. We will publicize that information in advance where people can look at it so they can come to those meetings and be informed and ask questions, and we will institute a revised budget. I'll amend the current budget if there's one in place. I don't even know if there'll even be one in place, but if not, we'll put one in place or amend the budget to reflect a new budget that the department heads will have to follow, and we'll start trying to work on leaning up the operation of the county and see where there's synergies and savings that we can gain from.
Okay, Mike.
Well, the county has to be a place that somebody wants to live, first of all. If you're going to have people come into this county, put money into this county, put money into their homes, a place that they want to live, you're going to have to standardize the county. It's kind of like what the movement's going on with the torn down houses. But first of all, before that, I put that kind of in front. The problem we have, and the problem that we both agree on, is the enterprise funds are being bleeded. And the difference we have is where the bleeding's coming from. That's a question for the taxpayer. Where do you think the bleeding's coming from? Where's the money going, basically? So my first order of business would be to start on the enterprise funds in the county and to audit them and to bring them into compliance of showing us if they are truly making a profit, get rid of the riffraff of moving money here, back over here, and then showing this. That's not the proper form to tell if we're making money or not. Back to the standardizing, if you don't protect the citizens that are putting money in this county, there's no citizens with money going to want to live in this county. So standardizing through the plans that have already started is a good plan to do that. And the tax base in our county has to improve. That will be improved by also with the standardization of our county, holding it to a higher standard basically. But the tax base is an area where I'm strong in. I can take a property that's worthless, I can make it worth something. I can develop it into something that's not against the background of the community, such as putting something out of place, basically, and makes it worth money. So if it's worth money, if it's nice, people want to buy it. We've got to work on growth. We've got to be pro-growth in our county. I've said it many times, the Lord is not making any more property, but babies are coming out every day. Walker County has failed in this fact that they have not been in the pro-growth category. And as I was in the meeting with the commissioner yesterday and some of the leaders of the Walker County all over the county, we expressed some of these ideas and views of what we would do. And one of the things that I asked that we would do would be to take the stand in instead of the builders coming in, developers coming in and taking the initiative into our county, let's take an initiative ourselves as the government. Let the government take the initiative. Let's form visions and dreams for our county as the government and pass that to the developer.
All right, let's take these two callers right here. They've been holding on. Thank you for holding. Over here on 12, go ahead.
Is that me?
Over here on this side, go ahead.
Okay.
No, it's the other side. Go ahead. Caller over here on 12, go ahead.
Yes. I have a question for Mr. Peardon. Are you committed to this position if you get it?
Yes, I am.
Mr. Whitfield, are you committed to this position if you get it?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%, no doubt.
Excellent. Then will you both agree, whoever wins, the other man is still committed, will he assist the winner to this position?
Which election are you talking? Are you talking about the primary or the general election?
I'm talking about whoever becomes commissioner, the other man still assists him if he's that committed to our county. Can you pledge that?
Are you saying if I become commissioner, Shannon would back me?
Yes, or he would assist you.
You're talking about winning. You talking about winning this election? Is that what you're talking about? Would you
Yes, I am. I'm not worried about BB. She doesn't need to run, other than run the other way. I'm just saying if Mr. Whitfield was to win the election and become commissioner, will Mr. Peardon be there to assist him if he's so committed, and vice versa?
Well, I'm not sure Mr. Whitfield would want my assistance in his campaign. He's got his own direction, but I would not stand opposed. I would not be on the back burner causing any issues, certainly. But I'm sure Mr. Whitfield has his, as I do, his team to take over and do the job. But
well, if you're committed, then you should have no problem in assisting him if he needs the help, because I don't see this as an easy job.
Well, it's not going to be an easy job, but I think I think what we've all got to look at is after the general election is over, whoever the commissioner is, starting January 2017, the whole community needs to get behind that person and do whatever we can as a community together to try to make our county better and to look for solutions to bring in new businesses, to grow our county and to expand our tax base. So we've all got to get on the same team, but a lot of what's going to happen in order for that to take place is we're going to have transparency in our county government. There's going to have to be an openness to what's really going on like we've never seen before. So that's going to come with the reporting that needs to be done. There needs to be more information put on the website and made available. This stuff with having to do these open records requests and pay for documents that should be made available to the citizens, we've got to really look at that. And one commitment I've made for the first 6 months of my administration, we're going to put a moratorium on any of those requests. I'm going to have a public relations person that will be there to assist people with getting information and documents. Mike's been down several times to get information, and he sees what a struggle it is, because sometimes you know what the end results are that you're looking for, but you may not necessarily know every document and every form and how they word it to get that information. So, we need a person that's the liaison to help communicate that. But I think for both of us, we just need to all look at it as that our county needs to come together as an entirety, and we need to put politics aside. The election would be over, and everybody needs to pull together.
I think we should honor whoever's in the position.
Right.
I mean, we live here. This is our home. We're not going anywhere.
Right.
I think we should honor whoever takes that position.
So a question for Shannon. If you're talking about hiring a public relations person,
yes.
You're talking about adding a position, you're talking about money.
Yes.
And you said the other would be volunteers that you were going to put in place to help you with that.
Yes.
Is that not something that a sole commissioner, and I've got an addition to that, a sole commissioner does anyway without having the help of volunteers? And the volunteers may not think like you do when you really get right down to it. And on the other question is, I think both of you have talked about multi-member board. Why would you want to run for a job that's going to go away?
Well, let me take the first question. We'll step through these.
Okay.
The reason I want to hire a public relations person is because not only is there a lack of communication with the citizens, and citizens trying to get information, our government's supposed to be open. And so the citizens are crying out for help for information. So we need that person to communicate. there's media requests currently now where local media are looking for information they want answered. That's not being done, because if the commissioner is in a meeting or the commissioner is tied up with something, there needs to be a person that's their responsibility is to communicate information.
You want somebody speaking for you?
Well, there will be guidelines, and just like any administration of what the agendas are and what the platforms are and in the direction
I'm just
of
asking
the county.
you, I'm not badgering you.
Oh, no, not at all. But it's a way to move things fast, and that's part of the thing that we've got to do is move things quicker, because with the mountain of financial problems that we have, the problems we've got with the cove, the problems we've got with the landfill, if all these people are coming in with requests, they're going to be so backlogged if they're waiting to see me as the commissioner to get the latest profit and loss statement. We need to be able to have a communications, public relations person that says, I will get that for you, and I will help make sure if you don't understand how to read it, I'll get one of the accounting people to come and talk to you out here in the office and explain that to you. So that person is to make sure that the citizens of Walker County are satisfied when they come to an open records request. So they're going to be more working one-on-one with citizens for information, because we're going to come in and we're going to shine the spotlight on everything and anything and everything that people have been wanting to know or trying to dig and find out. We're going to make that available. So it will be creating a position, but we're going to have more offsetting savings in other areas that will more than offset that addition of that staff person. We're going to have some consolidation of some departments where we're not going to need as many department head leaders, because with communication and technology, there's some areas that there can be some leaning up of our middle management, so to speak. So the citizens and a lot of the workers are worried about cuts being made because they traditionally have been made from the bottom up. They start with the low man on the totem pole, the rookie employee, and they start with the bottom up. My administration, we're going to start for the top. And so the first one, as I mentioned a while ago, is the CEO. We're going to replace the CEO, so I would be the new CEO of this county. And then we're going to go to the next level of middle management, and we're going to look at what's working and what's efficiency and what needs to be changed. And we're going to find cost savings when we go through this evaluation process. And that's one of the things that the advisory team will be assisting me on, is looking at the proper structure. When I talk to the average county employee now, I say, who do you report to? I mean, tell me on your organizational chart. And they look at me funny and say, well, I don't have an organizational chart. Nobody's ever given me an organizational chart. And so we're going to put that structure in place, because our county needs to function with a lot of business principles. There needs to be proper accounting, there needs to be proper reporting of the financials, and there needs to be proper structure. So I forgot what your other question was.
Me too. Well, a multi-member board. Let's let Mike address that.
Sure.
But let me insert this. Let me say this.
Okay.
Would either of you be willing to do this? I bought this TV station in 2001. My goal was to give 1 hour to Catoosa County, 1 hour to Walker County. And I'm not, I need to say this, that for all of those years, let's see, what's that? Shannon, is that 14 years? You're more of a financial whiz than I am. This is 2000, it's 15 years.
15 years.
That Commissioner Heiskell has sat in there with her team. You talked about communication, and communicated and answered the questions. The question is, would you all be able to do it? Would you be willing to do that? Would you come up here and sit for an hour once a week and talk to these people?
You want to take it
That's
first?
important to me.
So I've been doing all the talking.
I don't see why not. I would certainly have nothing to hide. It would be a great avenue to show the new things that would be taking place. As me being a commissioner, it would be a great avenue. Now, you talking about on your money?
I'm just asking
you
about
going to pay for that, or is the county taxpayer going to pay for it?
It's free.
It's free?
I have
I'll be here.
advertisers that pay for it. It's free.
It's free. I'll be here.
And I've thought about that very thing, and I think your station and this channel is very important for communication to the public, and it's a great service that you provide to both counties to provide that hour. And so I would like to see us take that to the next level. I think that there may be times that there's things that's going on in the community that it may not necessarily need to be the commissioner that comes. Maybe there needs to be other people in the community, but use that hour
She usually invites a guest for
communication to the citizens of Walker County about all things in Walker County. That may be, we may want to use that hour for a civic group that's doing something. Let them come in and talk about what they're doing, or a fundraiser, or a local school, or whatever. So I know a lot of times it may get a little dry the way it is now. It's the same thing over and over. I want to expand that and give other things going on positive in the county an opportunity. Yes, we need to continue that. We need to continue that. But I want to try to be a little more creative with the programming of that.
It's your time. You can do what you want to with it.
I would like some time on the other issue with the first question there. I'd like a little time with that, because I disagree with the...
We're about out of time. Y'all need
Is it really?
Got about 15 minutes.
You
Nah.
got 15
We got any
minutes.
callers holding?
Advisory board, I don't believe that will work. Now, that's just my opinion. People working for free, I don't think you're going to get their best in that. And the thing is, with the issue on Wilson Road that we have now, you've got one man saying, or several people saying they don't want a laundromat. You've got several people saying you do want a laundromat. So your advisor comes back to you, conveys that message. You've still got to go out there on your own and put boots on the ground to see exactly what's going on. So I don't think that would be effective. As far as starting at the top with leaning management, I don't think technology can replace the hardworking people that are in the county that have proven themselves loyal in that position. I don't think technology can replace that on the top side. And we still haven't talked about the board.
Okay,
That's a big issue.
let's take these two callers. They've
Sure.
been holding on, and the one over here on us, 7646, I think, is first. Go ahead.
Okay. I realize that we are in a terrible debt. And years ago, the property taxes were adjusted because of the housing market. But since then, they've not been readjusted since it's failed. And I was just wondering what's going to happen with the property taxes.
Okay.
Well, the tax assessor's office currently is under a consent order that our commissioners signed on the reassessments of all of the properties in the county. So I don't have those dates and deadlines here in front of me, but they've been working on this now for months, trying to get a reassessment of all of the properties in the county, because the state had our property assessments out of compliance with the way their formulas and their system works. And so they're working through that, and hopefully this next tax digest will reflect those reassessments.
Mike?
You know, the mill rate was reported at 1.3 million, 1,900,000, the mill rate that's taken in for each mill. The property tax, you know, if we owe, we have to pay, but the plan I have, you know, is to try to sell the properties that are not needed, to lift the burden from the taxpayer, get in and evaluate the properties that we have that are not needed for the county, and sell those properties and put towards our debt. There's creative ways of lowering the interest rate on some of these loans to help. You know, debt is basically taxes. We're talking about the same two, both are the same. So, in correspondence with the taxpayer. So, I have a plan to combat that and to move forward to try to lower that debt.
All right, we got one more caller here. Caller, are you there with your question?
This me?
That's you.
Now, thank the Lord, I've been out here standing on one leg, getting infected with Zika. Anyways.
What's your question?
My big question is, to both candidates, what will both of you do to get the unscrupulous people like our county attorney, Don Oliver, out of their positions? You know, he was a convicted felon at one point. Our county investment manager, or whatever he is, come from Atlanta. He used to be a...
But what's your question?
What are they going to do to get all these people that have really bad histories out of politics and the government of Walker County?
Well, I've been very public with my plan, and have actually published it in all of my handouts and material. I'm going to be eliminating the full-time county attorney position. We cannot afford, with the financial condition that we are in, we cannot afford a full-time county attorney. We're one of the few counties in the state that even have a full-time attorney. we will have to outsource legal services. We will have to have an attorney that we work with, but we don't need a full-time attorney with a full-time assistant. And so regardless of personality, regardless of your feelings of a person, or even if a perfect candidate that you would be favorable of was to be put in that position tomorrow, under my administration, that position will be eliminated very quickly.
I would assess the situation. There's always two sides to every story, and when you talk about somebody, I mean, I don't know Don Oliver, but when you talk about somebody, that's pretty incriminating. Two sides to every story. When somebody, and I hope people use that as a life message, but I have no plans to fire Don Oliver. I'd like to sit down with Don Oliver and talk to him about these situations. But with us in the midst of a legal battle with Hudson Medical Center, I'm not sure it's the wisest plan to ditch the lawyer and start with another lawyer.
Well, the situation we're already outsourcing a lot of the legal work now. There's a local attorney in Lafayette that does a lot of work for the county now. Also, Stuart James out of Chattanooga is the special counsel to the county for the Hutchison Erlanger lawsuit. So we have a full-time attorney on staff, but we're outsourcing a lot of what that person's job you would think would be. And so I feel like that position needs to be eliminated and take those savings and use them elsewhere.
All right, let's take this caller, and then we have 10 minutes left. And here's something I want to tell you. We're going to rerun this on Friday evening from 7 until 8:30, and perhaps maybe another time for you folks that want to watch it. We have some time available, like during the night. What? I thought this tell me I did something wrong. Caller, are you still there?
Yes.
Are you there?
Yes.
Okay, your question. Go ahead.
It's a comment. Why does Mr. Whitfield think that a full-time attorney is not necessary, considering the fact that they represent the county in all of the suits that are brought by inmates for alleged civil rights violations, any suit that is brought by anyone for any reason, whether it's you chop down a tree and it wasn't in the right-of-way. I mean, there is a lot of work, and I'm not sure Mr. Whitfield is aware of how much work, legal work, that takes place in the legal office. And I'm not defending Mr. Oliver or anything else. I'm just saying from firsthand knowledge, that's a full-time position.
All right, thank you for your question.
Well, I think it's a very good question, and I look at attorneys very much like I do doctors. They've all had to get very specialized due to the nature and the changes in the industry and in the business environment. And so I think you see what's happening now, what our current administration is having to do. They're having to outsource different cases to lawyers that specialize in different areas. And so it just doesn't make sense to me to have a gatekeeper attorney on staff that is outsourcing a good portion of the work anyway. If there's certain things going on with inmates, we want to have the best attorney that specializes in that area of law to have them handle those cases. We want to be able to go to another attorney if we have a lawsuit like this Erlanger deal that specializes maybe in cases dealing with hospital or other public authorities. And so it would give us more flexibility to make sure that when we do have the need for an attorney, we've got the best possible person to handle that case, and we can handle multiple things at one time. When you've got just one staff attorney, you're limiting yourself on what that person's capable of doing just because of the number of hours in the day. Where if you've got the flexibility of outsourcing, you can move much faster and settle things much quicker if you do have things like that come up, because you can work with a variety of attorneys, and it be a competitive thing as well. If you've got attorneys that are looking for work and they're hungry, they'll be more competitive on their price structure and their billing, and we'll have savings there just because we've opened that up to a competitive marketplace.
Okay, we got two callers here, and Mike wanted to answer that question. We've got 7 minutes, and here's a question for you all, a challenge for you. Will you do this again and we'll finish up what we started?
Sure,
At
I'd
my
love to.
expense.
I'd love to.
Certainly.
At my expense.
I'd love to.
We'll
Sure.
find a time for it, and we'll do that for you folks, okay?
So,
All right, caller, let's take this caller over here on my side, over here on this side. Go ahead.
Is that me?
That's you. Go ahead with your question
Oh,
on.
okay, what I wanted to know is on these houses that are in arrears for their taxes, a lot of times they give people 2 or 3 years to pay, to pay it because they want to give them time to get the money, but then that property becomes a liability to the neighbors around it. When they are actually able to go in and confiscate that property after 3 months, sometimes they wait 2 or 3 years, and could that not be done on a case-by-case basis instead of just as a whole?
Thank you for your call.
I believe there's rules and regulations that
Tax
has to
commissioner question.
go by.
and this-
it's like she says, tax commissioner question, but there's rules and regulations that has to go by as far as the time allotted for that. So you have to go by that.
Let's take this caller over here. Caller, you're a last caller. Go ahead.
Okay, this is Baby Hospital, and you are required to appoint a county attorney. It does not have to be on your payroll, but you do have to appoint a county attorney, and you will be going through that attorney to find other attorneys, I would assume. But you do, that's part of what you do. You appoint a road superintendent, you appoint a county attorney, and several of the things that you do when you first take office, but that is one of the things that you will be required to do. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. We're going to let you all close it out. And I've asked them, they'll come back at my expense. We'll set a time and do this when I've taken out.
Okay. So, which one do you want us to go first?
Closing remarks?
You go
or do you
first
just
because he went first. when we
Okay,
opened up.
sure. I want to thank each of you for turning in tonight. I very much have enjoyed this forum, and I thank you, Judy, for being willing to help facilitate this. This wasn't something that Judy really wanted to do on the front end. We actually, both Mike and I together on the phone with Judy, asked her to facilitate and moderate this for us because we knew she had the experience to do so. I do have an event coming up this Thursday at Susan's Diner in Flintstone, where I have a slide presentation, a PowerPoint presentation that I've been doing, where I talk about the problems and the solutions that I see in Walker County. So doors open at 6:15. We're going to start at 7. It takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours to go through that, the time we do the presentation, and then open up the floor for questions. And so I always enjoy fielding those questions, and so I would invite you to come out. It's a free event. We'll have light refreshments, so if you can attend this Thursday, Susan's Restaurant in Flintstone, we invite you to be there. Don't forget early Saturday voting this Saturday. You can vote at the county courthouse. You can vote at the Northwestern Technical College, Chickamauga Civic Center, Rossville Civic Center, and up at Fairland. So that'd be the first opportunity that you can vote on Saturday. So I do encourage you to vote early, and I would definitely appreciate your vote, and I will get this county back on the right track.
Mike?
I've enjoyed being here, Judy. I've enjoyed talking about the issues, hearing from the callers. I'm honored to even be here running for county commissioner. I'd be honored to get your vote. Now, I would like to ask on May the 17th, we will be having a Republican Party, and I've asked to speak at that party, at that meeting, at the Chickamauga Library. I believe it starts at 6 o'clock. Is that, you guys know what time it starts?
What was that now?
The Republican Party meeting, does it start at 6?
I think they start at 6:30.
6:30?
Next Tuesday.
Okay, Chickamauga Library. And we'll be talking about an issue that has become an issue for me with the Republican Party. If you're a Republican and you want to come out and have your say, this would be a good time to do that. We're going to talk about some issues about that Republican Party.
Okay.
I appreciate your vote. Looking forward to talking to you again.
Let me ask you all something.
Sure.
I don't have a show for Friday night. Friday's the 13th. Friday the 13th. Will it be these people's lucky day for you all to come back and do this during night talk, Friday night? Are you all available?
I'll check my schedule.
I have to check and see. I'm not sure.
We'll let them check and
We'll
see,
check and
and if
see.
they both agree to do that, we'll come back. And this has been a good casual conversation. You've got to know them. They still have questions that aren't answered that they probably want to dive into. That's why I said we'd come back and do it again. I'm happy to do that for them if they'd like to do it. We will rerun this Saturday from 7 to 8:30. I had it wrong. I had the day wrong. It's Saturday from 7 to 8:30. And perhaps some overnight because we have a lot of space there that we do, and this was an hour and a half, and it's hard to sandwich in an hour and a half show when we have our time frames there. I thank them for being diplomatic about what they did, and you've got to see them, you've got to know them, but you're going to get to know them better right here on UCTV, and I thank them for this.
Thank you again for having us.
Thank you, Judy.
They reminded you that early voting is. You can vote this Saturday. We want to remind you that Election Day is May the 24th. These two will be on that ballot, and come November, incumbent Commissioner Beebe Haskell will be on that ballot along with Perry Lamb.
If he gets his signatures,
and he has not, and those are independent candidates, and there could be somebody else out there.
He's working hard.
They have till June 30th to get their signatures.
That's right.
He's
so the winner
hard.
of that race, winner of this race, meets those folks in November. You all have a good night's sleep. Stay tuned for Night Talk here at 9 o'clock. We're going to talk about child abuse in Catoosa County with the defects folks. So Virginia's going to join me. So we'll see you in about 30 minutes.